sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 54th edition of Energy Week with George Harvey.
We've been doing this about 5 years.
A little longer than that.
Yeah.
We started in 2013. It's been 8 years.
8 years.
Well, 7.5 because we started in November.
Time goes fast when you're having fun.
It sure does. Okay. I should start out by saying the stuff that you're going to be seeing on this show is all material that's at my blog, geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com. You can go there and look at the articles to read them in detail.
Now, let me interject here, because some of these are well worth reading.
Yeah?
We don't have time to do the whole thing.
No.
We can do a show.
We could do an entire show on one of them. Yeah.
So I'll try and alert you to some of the better ones. I mean, some of them are must see. We had one there last week. Everybody should have seen it.
Yes.
It was a very long one, but it was comprehensive.
Yeah.
So I'll put you back on the screen.
Okay, let's do that. These are from geoharvey.com, but if you look below the screen, if you're online or TV shows, they have
at the end of the article.
At the you can.
There's a link.
There's a link, and you can.
Bingo.
You can actually download or go to a site where all of these are put together with links that go to the original shows, original articles, so that you can read them. Now, we have to raise money for BCTV.
Give them the pitch.
If you're willing to part with a little cash, it has to be in dollar amounts, I believe. You're not allowed to give a nickel.
Can you give 99 cents?
I don't think so. It's prejudice against poor people. It really is. Anyway,
it's a machine,
It's a machine, that's right. You can go to BrattleboroTV.org. Go down to the bottom of the screen, you'll find a thing you can click on that says support local something, television, whatever.
Something like that.
Something like that. You click on that and then you figure out how you're going to give your money, which could
Tell them you want it for this show.
That's absolutely right. I was going to say that. Absolutely. You can give it by credit card, you can give it by PayPal. I always use PayPal. People at BCTV, I think, prefer PayPal. It's pretty secure.
Yeah, PayPal.
Not only is it pretty secure, but if something goes wrong, PayPal guarantees it.
That's good.
Yeah. Although I will say, I have an account at People's United.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, has been called People's United since before Karl Marx was born. But it's not a socialist organization. But I had suspicious...
A socialist bank. Now, that's an interesting concept.
I had suspicious activity on a credit card.
Did you?
And they took care of it.
Uh-huh.
They did. I didn't have to pay anything. And they found it. They said, this looks weird. Why would people be charging amounts in restaurants in California?
Yeah, sure.
They took care of it. Anyway, we need to have support for the show at BCTV. And if you donate some amount of
We're not talking megabucks here.
No, we're not. We need less than $300 at this point. If you donate an amount, you can put in a note that's, gives BCTV a note that tells what it's for. And
allocated to this show.
Supporting Energy Week.
If you don't do that, we ain't going to
They'll just take the money, and I and Tom, no parties for us. Not that we would have parties anyway. Anyway, we should start, shouldn't we?
I think we should, yeah.
So let's start with this picture that I just put up of a wind farm. That is the Block Island Wind Farm. We've had the Block Island Wind Farm up on this show so many times.
That is the Block Island Wind Farm. You can see the 5 turbines in it.
Yeah, and you can see, they're laid out in the Block Island fashion, and there it is.
And it's shallow water. You can see the infrastructure, I guess, that's holding the poles up in the air.
Yeah. Anyway, this thing comes from CNN, and Tom, you have a title for it, I believe.
Yes, I do. Biden administration announces its first offshore wind auction with more to come.
The White House...
This is a good article.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, we're going to have multiple articles about this particular story.
Well, this is significant.
Yes, it is. The White House had unveiled several government initiatives to bolster U.S. offshore wind production, streamline a review of public lands for clean energy, and implement power grid improvements as part of the recently passed bipartisan infrastructure law.
Well, I got my notes here.
Yeah.
So everything got all screwed up last night. So.
Well, Tom's had trouble with his mouse, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it's my mouse. Well, the law includes wind auctions for more than 750 square miles off the coast of New York and New Jersey, which itself is a little bit bigger than New Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a big outfit.
Yeah.
Biden wants to double offshore wind by 2030.
I got news for you.
Which he can easily do.
We have almost none. He could double that really easily.
Though funding from the bipartisan infrastructure law, the Department of Energy is launching a, quote, Building a Better Grid initiative to help finance new and improved transmission lines and other grid upgrades.
Right.
So they're not just putting the grid in there, they're figuring out how to integrate the grid, which they should be doing.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next one here.
Okay, this is a really interesting set of maps.
Picture here.
Yeah, I was confused.
Every one of those black dots is a potential site.
Is a potential site of a wind farm. And the big map on the right, if you look at it, is the east coast of the United States from Maine down to, I guess, Georgia. And it includes Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. We have one.
There's one of them up there in Lake Erie.
Icebreaker.
Lake Erie looks like it's a lot shallower than Lake Ontario, according to this map.
Well, it might be. I don't know.
Well, that's why it's a lighter color.
Okay, I believe you. Yeah, that's important because they're showing those things to indicate depth of the water,
so
that you can tell whether the wind farms have to be floating. And you can see that there's a whole bunch of these things off the east coast of the United States, and then there's a few off the west coast.
Well, if they build them close to the shore, they got to float them, according to this map.
On the west coast.
I'm talking about the east coast.
Well, if they're in the east coast, they don't have to float them.
No, they shouldn't have to float them.
But at least not all of them. Some of them they will.
Well, you got to look at the map closely.
You do. Yeah.
The map is confusing. There's a lot of information in there, but it is confusing.
It is, and unfortunately.
It's a good map, though.
Yeah. Okay. So this is, this is from Clean Technica. What's the title, Tom?
How to grow U.S. offshore wind power.
The U.S. DOE, that's Department of Energy, is releasing a report that outlines regional and national strategies to accelerate U.S. offshore wind deployment and operation. By implementing strategies discussed in the report, the country can achieve the interagency goal to deploy 30 gigawatts of offshore wind by 2030. 30 gigawatts is what, Tom?
Well, if they use the fairly large turbines that are available today at 6 megawatts, so 5 of them would do it.
30 gigawatts?
Gigawatts.
No, 5,000 of them.
Oh, 5 megawatts times 6 equals 30 megawatts times 1,000 equals 30 gigawatts.
Yeah.
Okay, Doug.
A lot. Well, you know, I'm not all that awake, but I happen to notice that one.
Well, there's 5 strategic priorities that this law identifies.
Okay.
And I'll read them off real quick.
Okay.
Increased demand for offshore wind energy.
Yeah.
Okay. Cost reductions.
Yes.
Duh. Improve siting and regulatory processes. This is a biggie here because they got to put them in the right place.
Yeah.
Supply chain development, also big.
Yes.
And they're working on that.
They sure are.
Transmission and grid integration. This is critical.
Transmission and grid
They got to
integration.
make sure that they fit.
Everything
The
fits.
report includes initiatives specific to 4 U.S. coastal regions: the Atlantic, which you're seeing in the picture, the Pacific, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Great Lakes. But the potential exists in the Atlantic.
The Gulf of Mexico has a small potential
Oh, it does. It does.
compared to the Atlantic, which is why it's
we
not
have talked
on.
on the show. There's
Absolutely.
enough potential in off the East Coast,
To
just the turbines, to power the whole country.
yes,
So,
So,
let's move along here. I think we got
okay,
another coming. Got
we
another
do.
one coming
We
up.
have a picture of a solar
Yeah,
system
we've
with
got a
storage,
picture here,
and
yeah. There's some solar storage units.
here is an article from Clean Technica.
Those solar storage units are about the size of trailer truck components. What are they called?
Shipping
Shipping
container.
containers.
Yeah,
You know, they make these things in a factory. They build them in a shipping
That's right.
container, and
Yeah.
they're easy to deliver.
yeah.
to
You
the site.
you bring them off there and over there on the back
That's
of a
what you're
tractor
looking at
trailer, and then
here,
you'll lift
and-
them off, and that's the end of that.
You see 2 of them here. We don't know how many there are there, but
Yeah,
bingo! All of a sudden you got
yeah,
you got
absolutely. So what do you have for a title?
storage. I can find it here. Happy hours. Energy storage could support the grid every hour of the day, all year long.
Yeah, and this is from the USDOE. The National Renewable Energy Laboratory modeled grid operations in high storage power systems down to the hour in the latest phase of the Storage Futures Study.
Let me put you
This
up
is
there so
to
they know
help
I'm talking.
grid operators, yeah, they wouldn't know I was talking unless they saw me, would they? It is to help grid operators understand how to use energy storage of the future.
A couple of interesting things. The NREL found that the grid operates more efficiently with high levels of energy storage,
Yeah,
balancing the load 24/7.
yes,
Okay, the ability to
So
store
cool.
electricity when demand is low
yes.
and discharge stored electricity when demand is high offers significant value to the grid.
And people don't realize this. You know, they say the sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow.
But the storage is always there.
Yeah, and but one of the big problems with that thinking is that baseload power is utterly inflexible. And if you think about it,
Well, yeah, I mean, it takes a long time to turn on and off.
it can take a couple of weeks in the case of a nuclear power
nuclear
plant
station,
to just
yeah.
to turn it on. And if you follow a load, well, the demand on the grid is constantly changing. So if you're going to use baseload power, you have to have all kinds of power plants backing it up.
Well,
And
the combination, and it's developing as we speak, and we got
Yeah.
nothing to do with it. The combination is a lot of storage, and they're getting rid of the very, very large sources of power on the grid.
yeah,
It's,
yeah.
The new grid is going to be distributed power and
And a lot of storage, and it's going to be a whole lot cheaper than the old paradigm that we've been using.
And fewer startups also reduce emissions,
Yes.
improving the health of
Yes.
the neighboring communities.
Yep. So should we go on?
Well, can't dance.
We have a picture here of a nuclear power plant out in the middle of no place, and I'm pretty sure that is not in the United States. I believe it's in someplace in
I don't know
Europe.
where it is, but it is a nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
You can see that, and that those fumes you see coming out of the towers are steam.
Yes.
They're not pollution. Those are cooling towers.
Yep.
So
This is from EU Observer.
it's from the EU Observer, and it says that the EU gas and nuclear rules are derided as the biggest greenwash ever.
Yeah, they've been trying to call nuclear and gas green energy. Experts.
That's what they're trying to do.
That's what they're trying to do.
I got a comment on that. But
Yeah, well, I've got a few comments on it. Experts and activists, some of which I would not say on television. Experts and activists commenting on the European Commission's plan to include natural gas and nuclear power as eligible for sustainable finance. They warn that the plan will lead to further greenwashing, split financial markets, and undermine the bloc's climate objectives.
It's apparently about money. By calling them
Oh,
this,
money.
They can get that.
Yeah.
And
They can use this to facilitate corruption with
well,
money.
they say gas power is compliant. Okay. However, this would create more than 1.4 billion tons of CO2. And it's compliant.
And it's compliant, yeah, well,
This figure exceeds the yearly emissions of, you ready for this?
yes.
France, Poland, Czechia, Romania, Greece, Hungary, Bulgaria, Finland, and Sweden put together.
Put together.
This is not based on science.
This is not based on science.
And this is a good...
It's kind of like saying if you're going to rob the bank, it's a crime, except if you happen to be driving this car, or this car.
Well, declaring gas as green is like declaring that French fries are salad.
Yeah, I think that's actually probably a pretty good, oh, man. And this thing just keeps going on. Germany is trying to prevent it from happening. France is saying we want it to happen.
It's about money.
It's about money.
It's not about reality.
It's about
or
corruption.
science or
It's about corruption. We should
there's
be
a
very
picture
clear
here
about
coming
that.
up.
We have a picture. This is from
Let's see if I
CNN,
can
the
get
article.
that picture up here.
The Earth from space.
That's what it looks like to me. You can see the end of the satellite in the corner of it.
Yeah.
And there's a storm out there in the Atlantic, isn't there?
Is that the Atlantic? I can't tell.
I can't either.
No.
There's a storm in that ocean wherever it is.
Somewhere out in the ocean, there's a storm. This is like the sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow, but you can bet your bottom dollar on one thing, and that is there's always a storm out in the ocean.
Somewhere. 2021 was the 45th year in a row with a warmer than normal global temperature. That's not good news.
No, it's not. The last 45 years have been above the 20th century average for global temperature, every one of them. New data shows as Earth continues its relentless warming due to heat-trapping fossil fuel emissions. The Earth's average temperature is now 1.1 degrees Celsius, above average pre-industrial levels.
It better not go above 1.5.
Well, it's going to go above 1.5 because nobody's really acting serious about this.
That's true.
And, you know, what this reminds me of is Lake Wobegon,
Yeah.
you know, where all the women are strong and all the men good looking and all the children are above average. And what we've had here is 45 years in a row of above average temperatures.
We have had that.
Now, how do you do that? Well, you do it by comparing it to a century in which some of the years are below average.
Well, 2021 was the 6th warmest year on record,
Yeah.
despite the influence of La Nina, which tends to lead to cooler temperatures. 1.1 C is 73% of the way to the 1.3 threshold
Yeah.
that scientists warn the planet must stay under to avoid the worst impacts of climate change.
Well, we're going to have worst impacts of
We-
climate
we
change. I
are.
just don't see how we can avoid that.
Well, 2021 brought heat waves and floods that became mass casualty events. We talked about some of these on the
Many
show.
times.
Rain fell at the summit of Greenland for the first time on record. I remember talking about that on this show.
Yep. Yep.
And a historic drought has plagued much of the western U.S. and has triggered large destructive wildfires and never before seen water shortages. These trends will continue.
Now I'm going to put up the next picture, and we could go to the next
I'll see if
article.
I'll see if I can't get that next picture up.
What a good idea. The next article comes from CNN.
This should do it, but
I don't know
There
where.
we
Oh, there it
go.
is. There you
we
go. Okay, this is from CNN.
It is, isn't it? Now,
Yeah.
Now I've lost my train of thought here.
Well, you're looking for a title that you can read.
I got it. The U.S. mega drought sets another stunning record.
More of the same
More
as
the same.
Despite several recent drenching rainstorms in the West and enough snow to top the second story of some buildings, the United States has tied an alarming drought record. At least 40% of the lower 48 has gone 68 straight weeks, more than 17 months, in drought conditions.
Well, this is a CNN link, and like a lot of CNN links, there's a lot of pictures.
Yes.
And some of them are interactive, so
Yep.
if you like pictures, there's at least 20 pictures there.
That
Go
picture
look
that
it up.
was there was not one of them. I got that because all of those pictures at CNN have got copyrights that I would have to avoid using if this is going to go into an uncopied.
A couple of quick takeaways.
Yeah, go ahead.
Almost all of the U.S. drought is located west of the Mississippi.
Almost all.
Much of the West drought is a long-term phenomenon persisting from year to year without enough precipitation to lead to a full recovery.
That's right.
That's bad news.
It is.
The Southwest has been experiencing what many scientists have termed a mega drought
Yes.
for about 2 decades.
Yes.
Okay? Dry conditions aren't just a concern for reservoirs and water supply, but also for fire mitigation.
Yeah.
Where conditions are dry, fires can spark, and this is happening.
It's happening. Yes, it is.
So let's move
Okay,
along.
we're up to Saturday.
January 15th.
We have a picture of
A
a
picture here of a
nodding donkey,
donkey.
pump
He
jacks
looks
in the
like he's
Permian
kneeling
Basin.
down. Looks like he's.
Yeah.
There's 2 of them in the picture there, I think.
Yep.
Well, Targa is a company
Yeah.
to source solar power for West Texas assets.
This is from LP Gas Magazine. LP is liquefied.
Liquefied petroleum.
Petro-
Yes, yes.
Targa Resources Corp. plans to source electricity from Concho Valley Solar to provide power for Targa's natural gas processing infrastructure in the Permian Basin in West Texas. Concho Valley Solar has begun construction of a 160 megawatt project near San Angelo, Texas. Now,
San Angelo is almost exactly in the center of Texas.
okay. This is one of several articles that have 2 of them the same day.
Yes,
I didn't put the
thought
other.
that there-
I didn't put one of the other ones up,
yeah.
but this is people who are pursuing natural gas, oil, and so forth are putting in solar power and wind power to support that. Why would they do that, Tom?
I think to save money.
Yeah, to save money.
Well, Concho Valley Solar, the company, will deliver this electricity to Targa, which is the other company, under a long-term power purchase agreement. So they're getting in bed with these guys. Expected to begin delivery during the 4th quarter of 2022. Now this is interesting. The project will use bifacial solar photovoltaic modules. Now I don't know much about these. I've never seen one.
Well,
but there's a face on each side.
There's a face on each side.
And I figure they hook them up vertically.
Well, there are different reasons to do this, and one of them is if you're going to be in an area where there's snow. The snow will reflect light onto the back of the panel.
That's interesting.
You see, so there's a couple of different reasons why you'd want bifacial panels.
Well, Targa is engaged in gathering, compressing, treating, processing, transporting, and selling natural gas.
What an amazing
Natural
thing.
gas liquids and natural gas products, including services to liquefied petroleum gas explorers, and gathering, storing, terminating, and selling crude oil. So they're a busy little company.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
they're supplying their energy needs with solar panels.
By the way, that picture, you want to put that
I'll
back
pull
up?
it up again if I can.
You might be able to
There we
tell me,
go.
is that a picture of a cotton field? I think it is.
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Oh, sure it is, yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this picture. That's a cotton field.
Okay.
There's a cotton field and there's 2 nodding donkeys in it. 3,
Yeah.
maybe more.
Maybe more.
There's
Okay.
Something tall in the background. It's hard to tell.
It is. Okay, we have
along
more
here.
about batteries now,
Well,
and
let's
this is
put the
from Clean
picture up there.
Technica.
There is a picture of a battery.
Yep.
Okay, when I get my notes working here, I ought to be able to talk about that.
Okay, you're allowed.
Now there's a picture. Look at that picture. Put it in mind because we're going to move off in a second, and we're going to do that by this. Lithium. I'll put it back. That's a lithium sulfur battery.
Yeah.
Which is the typical lithium battery that they're making these days. A 1,000-cycle lithium sulfur battery could quintuple electric vehicle ranges.
A new biologically inspired battery membrane has enabled a battery with 5 times the capacity of industry standard lithium-ion exchange design to run for 1,000+ cycles needed to power an electric car. The design came from a team at the University of Michigan. Now, if you're going to charge your car every day, 1,000 cycles is only going to last you 3 years. But nobody charges the car every day, and in fact, a lot of
And
people
they just don't discharge it all the way every day,
No, and-
which is what really damaging the battery.
Yep, and so you figure if you're going to drive like a normal person, and which means 35 miles a day or something like that, and you've got a car that has a 350-mile range, that means you're really
You ain't going very far. You're not using that up.
Maybe once a week.
Yeah.
Now, 1,000 cycles, that would be 1,000 weeks. You're going to be good for 20 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it is.
Well, in this particular battery, a network of nanofibers
Yes.
recycled from Kevlar vests
Interesting.
can enable lithium-sulfur batteries to overcome their Achilles heel of cycle life.
Kevlar vests?
That's where they get the parts.
Are these bulletproof?
Well, they were. And the Achilles heel cycle life is the number of times it can be charged and discharged. And it used to be 10 cycles. Now they're thinking hundreds of cycles. Okay, now this article gets a little confusing.
Yes.
I think the guy that wrote it didn't understand it very well, and I don't understand his writing very
happens
well.
a lot. It really does.
So we'll say now it gets a little bit confusing.
Yes.
So if we find it a little less confusing, we'll get back to you, folks.
Yeah. Okay, our next article comes from
And we
Clean
got another
Technica, and we
picture
have
here.
a picture of a Texas wind farm.
Is that what that is?
I think it is.
How do they know it's in Texas?
Well,
It says it's in Texas.
it says it's in Texas, and it says that this image
It came
was
from
supplied
Amazon. They wouldn't lie.
Amazon? Are you kidding me?
It's an Amazon image.
They're such great people. They have such a great rainforest in South America. What do you got?
Germany to dedicate 2% of its land to development of wind power.
Germany's new Green Minister for Economics and Climate, Robert Habeck, presented a bold new plan for expanding onshore and offshore wind power. If successful, the plan would add up to 10 gigawatts of new onshore wind capacity every year for the rest of the decade.
Let me find you. That's 10 years.
That's a lot.
That's 80 gigawatts. It ain't
That's
gonna
80
happen.
gigawatts. That's right.
It ain't going to happen.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Europe as a whole installed 11.8 gigawatts of onshore wind, in 2020.
Yeah,
Just 1 year.
and he's saying
Germany tends to increase the number of onshore wind auctions. In total, 20% of Germany's land area will be set aside for wind energy generation. This is the land.
Yeah,
Germany also plans to increase its offshore target.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, should we go on, Tom, or do you have more?
Yeah, no, I got more. I got more notes, but not on this version of it.
Okay. Now we've got an item from Clean Technica.
There was a note here, but it's so. The fused notes have disappeared, so I
Yeah.
got the original note, and there's just too much to say.
We have a picture of a Renault vehicle.
Should we agree to call it a Renault, or do we want to call it a Renault?
You know, the first time this company advertised in the United States widely, they called it Renault. And I think they've called it Renault ever since.
That's a lot better looking car than they used to be.
Well, yeah, but you know, I don't like the name. I see that.
That's a neat little four-door.
Yeah, I don't like the name. I look at that on a page and I read it as migraine.
Well, let's see. I got.
This is from Clean Technica. What have you got for a title?
I got to get to the next article here.
Oh, okay.
And here's the picture of the car. Okay, I got that. Renault Megane A-Tech, courtesy of Renault. And Renault says it will sell only electric cars in Europe by 2030.
At a press conference, Renault CEO Luca De Meo said his company plans to sell only battery electric vehicles in Europe by 2030. He left the door open for Dacia, a low-priced brand in the Renault stable.
Which they don't even sell over here.
No, they don't sell them here, but they're very commonly sold in Europe. To
It's a
sell
cheap car.
internal combustion cars after that date, calling it Renault's Plan B.
Just in case it doesn't work, they have to sell internal combustion engines, they have a few.
Yeah.
Well, I got a lot of notes here, and I shouldn't have a lot of notes because I have this. I have
Don't
to
worry
still
about
this.
it, Tom. Just
Huh?
wing it. Wing it.
Yeah, I guess I can.
Our next item is from the BBC, and
got an
that is an
interesting
interesting picture. Sea-Jack turbine installation vessel.
Well, it's all there on that barge.
Yeah.
The black tubes go down to the ocean floor.
Yep.
White tubes go on top of that. Then the cells are, both of them are in the picture. They're those
Yep.
square things or rectangular things. And there's two turbine blades. Two
Yep.
sets of cells. They tow it to the site and they put it together. It's like an
Those-
erector set.
Yeah, those black things are legs that they extend down to the bottom of the ocean, and they use those to lift the entire ship out of the water. We've had pictures of those a number of
Yeah,
times.
we have. We have.
Okay, this is from the BBC. What is the title of the article?
Will Scott Wind auction deliver a renewables revolution?
The Scott Wind auction is the first time in a decade that plots of seabed in Scottish waters have been up for grabs. The Scott Wind auction, whose successful bidders are about to be announced, should see at least a further 10 gigawatts added to the Scottish market, and maybe more with new technology.
Well,
10
I'm going to put
gigawatts.
that picture back up.
Okay, 10 gigawatts is
Gigawatts.
10 gigawatts. And
Absolutely.
actually, when you're talking about offshore wind, this is the equivalent of about, I'm going to say 5. 10 is the equivalent of about 5 large nuclear power plants. And
Okay.
they're going to go up so fast, it's unbelievable.
Well, they're talking about the Scottish market, and I saw a map of Scotland.
Yeah.
There's a great potential for offshore
Oh, they've
wind.
got huge potential. Yeah.
Well, this is the image. The Beatrice Field in the Moray Firth. It's the largest offshore wind farm in Scottish waters, and there's a lot of turbines in it already.
Yes.
The Scott Wind auction is the first time in a decade that plots of seabed in Scottish waters have been up for grabs. Okay? So when successful bidders are announced on Monday, which was last Monday,
Yes.
okay, it could power a long-awaited renewables revolution.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Over the next decade, these new offshore wind farm sites could supercharge renewable energy capacity. Absolutely.
Right.
More than doubling everything currently built or planned in Scottish waters.
Yep.
So
Okay.
that's what we got to say here.
I've gone on to the next one.
Here we have. I have to find the next one. Here,
Okay.
Yeah, we're
It's an
still
item
talking
from
about
Reuters.
Scotland. We're still talking about Scotland. Here we go, by golly. We got a generic nuclear plant.
Yep.
I got news for you folks. It ain't a nuclear plant.
What is it?
You see the smokestacks?
Sometimes nuclear plants have tall things that look like smokestacks.
Well, maybe it is nuclear, but I think they lied.
Oh, okay.
I think
You
those
might
are-
be
I
right,
think-
Tom.
I think those
They do
things are
that sometimes.
smokestacks.
People, don't always tell the truth. What do you got for a title?
Let me find that out.
Okay, in the meantime, this is from Reuters.
Swedish police hunt for a drone seen flying over the Forsmark nuclear plant.
Police in Sweden deployed helicopters and patrols to the Forsmark nuclear plant to hunt for a large drone seen flying over the site on Friday. They were unable to catch the unmanned vehicle. They said unconfirmed sightings took place at one other nuclear power plant. Well, since
Well, they're
this...
concerned that the drone could have evil intent.
Oh, by golly.
And in all probability, just some guy playing around with his
I don't
drone,
think so.
but,
There were 3 nuclear power plants that all had drones over them.
they all did, huh?
They all did. This article was followed by more and more articles, and today they're saying that there were 3 drones. There were
was 3
drones
of them,
over
so
3
that
articles, 3 plants,
looks a little different.
and they believe that they were probably sent there by the Russian government.
Okay, to look around and see if they needed to do some damage, they could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And with those guys, you don't know. It's changing by the day.
You don't know. I mean, they're
What
really worried that they're going to invade the Ukraine.
Yeah.
What is Sweden going to do? Well, the Russians want to be able to blackmail the Swedes. They want to be able to blackmail everybody. And I want to say one thing about that. The
You're
reason
going to say it.
the reason why the Russians are doing this is because Vladimir Putin wants to do it, And my guess is that that's happening because Vladimir Putin has two characteristics. One of which is he's a bully.
Yeah.
And the second one is that he's very scared.
Why is he scared?
Because 2/3 of their income comes from fossil fuels, and that is going to go away.
I'd be scared too.
Yeah, absolutely. He wants to cause as much trouble as he possibly can. And he's been tying this thing about the Ukraine in cryptic remarks to the fact that the European Union is switching to renewable energy.
Well, that would hurt him considerably.
Oh, would it ever? It would very likely topple his government.
This is his big market. I mean, this is what supports the Russian government, really.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, coming up to Monday, January 17th.
What a good idea.
And we got a picture here.
Yes, we do.
If we can find it.
There we go.
There we go.
And this is from
The
Clean
picture's
Technica.
a guy putting a fire out.
That fire was set, by the way. They set the car on fire so they
do a
could
thing like
practice
that.
on fires.
They wouldn't do a thing like that.
Yes, they would.
Well, the title says that gas car fires are far more common than electric car fires.
Yeah.
Well, it's a dog bites man story.
Yeah, I
Electric cars
suppose
are
it
new,
is.
so there's an electric car fire, it makes news.
Yes, that's
You
right.
know?
A gas car burns, it's not news.
Well, you got to figure this. With a gas car, there's fuel in that car.
Yeah, it's very
With an electric
spectacular.
car, there's only upholstery.
Well, there's the batteries.
Battery's not going to burn. There's nothing to burn.
No, the lithium-ion batteries, the lithium burns.
The lithium will burn,
Yeah. A study by Auto Insurance EZ analyzed data from the Bureau of Transportation Statistics and National Transportation Safety Board, along with data on recalls from recalls.gov. It shows that while EV fires can happen, they are rare compared to fires in cars powered by gasoline. I had a friend who went to a gas station, and as he pulled out of the gas station, he stopped. I don't remember what for. It might have been to put air in his tires or something like that. And there was a kid who had driven into the gas station, and the kid had an exhaust system that was illegal. And he got the car, put the nozzle in to fill it, and he got into the cab of the car and stepped on the accelerator. And the car was in neutral, so it didn't move, but the car revved. And when it did, the exhaust system backfired, and flames came out, and they ignited the fumes of the
The kid on a bicycle.
of the gasoline being pumped into his tank, which caused the tank to explode,
Oh,
which meant
boy.
that gasoline was all over the concrete under the car.
Doesn't sound like a good scene.
No, I don't think that kid was happy at the end of the day.
Well, the argument that there are more electric car fires than gasoline car fires is silly.
Silly.
Okay? Yet many people believe it.
Yeah.
Okay?
When was the last time you saw a car burning down? People don't.
I don't remember seeing a car burning down.
I have seen a couple. They're pretty spectacular when they go.
I would imagine.
Not electric. The ones I saw were gas powered.
Well, all of my notes are gone here.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, based on this data, electric vehicles don't catch fire nearly as much as the news claims.
Yeah.
Hybrid cars seem to be the most dangerous for fires, followed by gas vehicles.
Yeah. And hybrids are not that much more dangerous
In
than gas
EV
vehicles.
and hybrid vehicles, there's usually battery issues that lead to fires instead of electrical wiring.
Yep.
And gas vehicle, of course, there's gas in the car.
Which is, as you know, a gas-air mix is explosive.
It can very well be.
A gallon of gasoline evaporated into the air, that combination, I've read various data about how powerful it is, but the last time I looked it up, they said 85 sticks of dynamite.
Wow. There is a risk of fire in every car,
Yeah.
whether it's electric, gas, or diesel. However, there's also a risk of being struck by lightning.
Yes.
With all things, there are risks, but especially with cars.
Cars are not struck by lightning very often because their tires are insulators.
Yeah, that's true.
I was
idea
struck
that
by
you
lightning.
shouldn't buy an EV because the batteries can catch fire is pure manufactured FUD.
FUD. Fear,
Uncertainty,
uncertainty,
and denial.
denial. There it is.
However,
Okay.
one can't overlook that there are risks. There are risks in everything.
We should go on, Tom.
I think so. We got another picture
We have a
coming up
picture of
here.
a solar car park in South Australia and
And that's a good idea.
Yeah, it
that
is.
is a very good idea.
an article from the Sydney Morning Herald, which is from Sydney,
Amazing,
isn't it?
isn't it?
See, I would have thought that the Sydney Morning Herald would be from Kansas City or something.
Albany, New York.
Yeah, there you go.
South Australia breaks a record by running for a week on renewable energy.
I forgot to look up. I've looked it up in the past and I've forgotten the number, how big South Australia is compared to Texas. But it's probably 2.5 times the size of Texas. It's big.
South Australia is big, but it's not the biggest
It's not
state.
no.
West Australia is the biggest
Absolutely,
state.
it's
South
multiple.
Australia sits in a position in Australia where Louisiana sits in the United States.
Well,
But it's bigger
Louisiana
than
and
Louisiana.
Texas and a few other
It's
places.
pretty big.
It's pretty big. Okay, South Australia sourced an average of just over 100% of its electricity it needed from renewable power for a period of 6.5 days leading up to December 29th last year. It is a record for the state and perhaps for comparable energy grids around the world. By the way, South Australia is connected to Victoria, so they probably took the excess and shipped it out.
I think the article says exactly that.
Yeah.
Yep, it says exactly that. Again, my notes here, I have reduced these notes to something reasonable,
That's
reasonable,
okay.
and they have just taken a whole damn thing.
Yeah, okay, we've got to go on because we are coming up a little bit behind time. We have an
Well, we've got
article
another
here from
picture here. Let's
Clean
get this
Technica.
picture up.
Yes, that is a battery recycling facility, and by the way, there are several companies doing this.
Well, they are eminently recyclable.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
People who don't like renewable energy will tell you that they're not. And it is a
Oh,
flat
these
out
batteries
untruth.
they are very recyclable.
Very recyclable. What do you have for a title?
Stelco, which is the company, Canadian Steel, will recycle EV batteries at its Ontario factory.
A Canadian
So it's right on the U.S. border.
Yeah, a Canadian steel company, Stelco, has announced plans to recycle end-of-life EV and lithium-ion batteries at its factory in Ontario. Stelco will be using proprietary technology from a joint venture of German and Australian metal companies, Primobius GmbH and Neo Metals Limited. Now,
That's the company that's backing them
Yeah.
with technology.
Stelco is doing this in Ontario, and there are two other companies. One is in Georgia, and the other, I believe, is in Germany, that are doing the same things that I've read
Well,
about.
there is one in Hilkenbach, Germany.
Okay.
Yep.
And those are the ones I've read about. There may be
They're
others.
operating now.
Yeah, there may be others that I have not read about. So,
Well, Stelco hopes to recover 18,400 tons of nickel, manganese, and cobalt, lithium hydroxide, and carbonate annually from these
yes.
batteries.
Yes.
It will also recover up to 40,000 net tons of scrap steel
Yes.
from the vehicles themselves.
They're not kidding around here.
No. So
Okay.
they're totally recycling cars here.
Yep. Okay, we are up to Tuesday, January 18th, and we have a
Let's hope I
picture of
can
an
find it.
offshore set of offshore wind turbines that are belong to. The picture is an Equinor picture.
Now, I don't
You don't have any.
I
of
don't
this.
have anything for this. So
Okay, I will read it. Scottish Renewable auction plans 15 gigawatts of floating wind leases. 15 gigawatts. The Crown Estate for Scotland announced the winning bids for the first renewable leasing round in 10 years, which we just reported on.
Yeah, I don't have any notes on it.
It's okay. In total,
Well, the
the
explanation is, that my mouse fouled up terribly last night,
I
and
know
I couldn't finish it up.
Tom's mouse got sick, and it would
Very
not
sick.
do anything.
Well, it would do anything. It moved the pointer around where I wanted it to be, and that was it.
Yeah.
I couldn't utilize
And so at 2 o'clock in the morning, I was walking down Elliott Street bringing Tom a mouse.
it. And that mouse works.
And that mouse worked, but he was too tired and decided to go to bed.
Well,
anyway,
yeah, it was by the time I got everything straightened out, it was almost 4. So,
yeah. Power technology brought us this. The Crown Estate first.
Well, you got the rest of the show.
Right. In total, the auction allocated 14.5 gigawatts of floating wind leases, 9.8 gigawatts of fixed base wind leases, as well as half a gigawatt of mixed development. Now we're talking about 24.8 gigawatts of wind power. And what is 24.8 gigawatts?
Well, gigawatts is bigawatts, baby.
Yeah.
A gigawatt is 1,000 megawatts.
1,000 megawatts. Each one of those is the capacity, if even allowing for capacity.
We got 5 megawatts of solar right here in town. And it looks big.
Yeah. The Vermont Yankee plant was a little over 500 megawatts when it was built. And these, 15 gigawatts, each gigawatt is when you consider capacity factors and things, is probably going to produce more than the Vermont Yankee nuclear power plant. So
each gigawatt.
Each gigawatt. And we're talking about 24.
Almost double, huh?
24.8 gigawatts. So we're talking about the equivalent of about 25 Vermont Yankee nuclear power plants going in, and they can go in fast. In just a few years, they can be put in. Where if it were nuclear power, it would take 10 years, 15 years. Yeah. There was one plant that got put in after 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
There's some plants in England that they've been working on for almost that long.
A long time. Okay, we should go on.
Well, I can't move anything. I can, but I don't have anything else to move it to.
Okay.
Well, this I can do.
Yeah, that you can do. Okay, that is a picture of South Australia. We were just talking about South Australia.
That's a South Australian dog there in the corner.
That is a South Australian dog.
It looks like South Australia to me, doesn't it?
It sure does, doesn't it? In fact, I think I've never been in South Australia, but I've dreamed about it. PV Magazine came up with this. The title is Neoen starts work on Australia's largest renewable energy project. Neoen started to develop a 1.2 gigawatt of wind, 600 megawatts of solar, and 900 megawatts of battery storage capacity in South Australia. On completion, the installation will likely be Australia's largest wind, solar, and battery storage project. Transmission lines will tie it to Victoria also. So
just what you said before.
We're talking about a lot of stuff going in here, and this is the same state. They're talking about putting in, what is this? 2.7 gigawatts of solar storage, solar, wind, and storage, 2.7 gigawatts into the state that was just running for a week without any use of fossil fuels.
Okay. Well, Australia has great potential for solar.
Yeah.
I mean, 3/4 of that country is desert.
Yeah.
You look at Australia, almost everybody lives within 50 miles of the sea.
Yes.
It encircles, in the middle of the country, there's nothing there.
Except Alice Springs.
Alice Springs is there.
And if you've ever read it, there's a great book. If you haven't ever read it, there's a great book by Neville Shute called A Town Like Alice.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's about Alice Springs.
It's about it's a little more complicated than that. But
well, I know we've talked on a show about some developments in Australia in the northwest corner where they're working on trying to build an industrial park there.
Okay, we should probably go on. We have a protest here at Standing Rock, which is not all that recent, but we also have, this is from Clean Technica.
I bet you I could do that.
Yeah.
Looks like a protest to me.
We have a title which reads, Court Vacates Decision to Approve Dakota Access Pipeline Expansion.
Now look at those people. Don't they look dangerous?
Yeah, they look terrible. I would run away. An Illinois appellate court has issued its decision in the appeal of the Illinois Commerce Commission decision to approve the Dakota Access Pipeline and Energy Transfer crude oil pipeline expansion. The court vacated the approval, and it remanded.
It did, didn't it?
Yeah,
that's good news.
Yeah, and it remanded the case back to the ICC, which is the Illinois Commerce Commission. And the thing here is that the Illinois Commerce Commission had refused to take into account that the people behind the Dakota Access Pipeline had been doing some things that were not all that savory, and
They wouldn't do a thing like that.
no, and they were told you do have to take these into account.
Yeah.
So
Well, they were playing games.
we'll see how that
I'm
works.
sure if you take a look at it, substantial sums changed hands.
You know, Tom, I am absolutely flabbergasted at the level of corruption in this country. It's just amazing.
It's severe.
It's severe. I wonder what percentage of the Congress is in somebody's pocket. And I would bet that it's...
100.
No, I don't think so. I don't believe for a minute that
At least in somebody's pocket.
I don't believe that Bernie Sanders is in anybody's pocket.
Well, Sanders and Leahy too are pretty straight.
I believe they are.
Yeah.
But how many people are like that?
It's a good business. You go in as a congressman, as a pauper, you come out as a billionaire.
I don't know. I had a solution
Yeah.
to government in the United States. It was a two-part solution. The first part, close Washington, D.C. down.
Good idea.
Move the center of government to a cornfield in Nebraska.
Good idea.
Second part, nobody is allowed to do anything official unless they can prove that they spent the previous night sleeping in a log cabin with a dirt floor. Okay. We have an item here from Renewable Energy Magazine, and we have a picture of a tornado.
Well, let's get that.
And I think that
tornado up.
picture is photoshopped. I just don't believe that it actually looked like that. Those big clumps that are in the air near the...
Well,
It just doesn't look right
it
to
would
me.
not look like that to the eye, but a camera stops motion.
It could be. All right, this is from Renewable Energy Magazine. What do unprecedented fires and tornadoes mean for the future of energy? The increase in climate-related disasters is becoming more distinct. Rising temperatures fuel more violent storms. The question is how to ensure that the nation's energy supply and infrastructure are protected and prevent disruptions in the energy distribution.
Okay.
So there you have it. What do you
got
got?
another one coming up?
Well, we can go to the next one if you
Yeah, I don't
want.
have any notes on this.
Okay. I thought maybe you'd just have an off the top of your head comment.
I haven't even read the
Okay,
original.
well, I have comments on this one. So
Good. So
this
give
is a
us- let's
picture
hear
of
your
the
comments.
Garzweiler lignite mine, which, by the way, is in kind of northern and certainly western Germany. The title is The Environment Case for Buying a Coal Mine.
Look at those smokestacks in the back.
Oh, yeah, that's a
They're
lignite burning
stacks.
plant.
This lignite is going into
That the reason why they have that plant there is because
Because the
lignite
mine
is
is there.
expensive to transport.
Well, lignite is like raw coal. It's just before
It's,
bituminous.
it's halfway between peat
Yeah,
and
and coal.
coal.
Yep.
Okay. A growing number of campaigners, economists, and legal scholars now believe there is an environmental case for getting involved in the fossil fuels market by buying up coal mines, acquiring drilling rights in order to prevent the fossil fuel from being extracted, leaving it in the ground. And you know, the thing
Well, that's
that
a good idea, basically.
I think so. The thing that I wanted to say about this is, you know, I've seen pictures that were done by anti-wind people, and they show a picture of a little plot of ground being dynamited in order to be able to put in the foundation of a wind turbine, and they say, "Isn't this terrible?"
Oh, it is.
And you know, so this is an area that might be 100 feet across. I don't know, but this particular mine, the Garzweiler mine, is nearly the size of Manhattan.
Oh.
I mean, this thing is huge, and it goes below sea level. They've taken a huge amount of coal out of this thing. What are you going to do with that? I have no idea what they're going to do. I have no doubt that at some point, somebody's going to figure out a good thing to do with that particular mine, and they're going to do it. And maybe that will mean bringing in soil and turning it into a park, or I don't know.
A long, long time ago, when I was with a company that made cables,
Yeah.
okay, I was visiting places like mines,
Yes.
okay, and I visited, I stopped in Cincinnati to pick up the local rep, and we were going to go visit some mines. And I looked out from where the parking lot was, and all the mountains were flat.
Yeah.
And I said to him, so I didn't know there was buttes here in Ohio. He said, they're not buttes. They just cut off the top of the mountains to get at the coal.
Yeah. And they've done that to 500 mountains in central Appalachia.
I can believe that.
Now, how many mountains are there in central Appalachia? I don't know.
And they just dump that waste over the side of the mountain.
It is
right
such
into
an
the streams.
incredible, amazing piece of wreckage when that happens.
They're doing it the cheapest possible way.
They're doing it the cheapest possible way. They cut all the trees down, clear
Cut everything.
And why do they do that? So the boulders from the top of the mountain will roll all the way to the bottom without being stuck against trees.
Well, they roll until they hit a stream and then they stay
That's
there.
right. They bury the stream under 100 feet of boulders, which have holes running through them, and those holes are going to take millennia to fill up with soil. So the result of that is there's no groundwater to support any soil that and plants that grow on the top of these rocks. They're going to be covered by lichens, but they're not going to have trees on top. The top of the mountain, they put
It's gone.
It's gone. They have a contract to put in a certain amount of soil on it. It's a couple of inches of soil. By the time they're done putting the soil on and seeding it, the soil is blown away by the wind. And it's not their responsibility
They could
to
turn them all
replace
into golf courses, couldn't they?
Yeah, right. No, they can turn them into solar
Solar
farms.
panels, that
Yeah.
would make sense.
Okay,
That would make sense.
Yes, it would. We're up to our last story,
Last story, good.
which
I
is
got a
from
picture
EDF
here.
Renewables, and this is the Teesside Wind Farm.
Where's Seaside? It's in England.
I don't know. It's England, but I don't know exactly.
Well, it's in shallow water,
Yep. This is from Euro News.
and the nacelles aren't huge.
Yeah.
They're not really big.
This colossal floating wind farm will power almost 1 million UK homes.
They don't use much electricity over there.
Nah. A floating wind farm being built in the Celtic Sea.
Well, that's not a floating wind farm.
No, it's not. I don't think that's the wind farm we're talking about. Off the coast of England and Wales is 20 times the size of the world's current largest floating wind farm.
Oh, it's on the Ireland side of England.
That's right.
Yeah.
Called Gwynt Glas, which means blue wind in Welsh. It will provide power for about 927,400 UK homes. This is a huge, huge wind farm. And it's not the first one in that area either.
Well, it's not going to be very long before the world stops burning things. Only because it's economical not to.
Well, we should have stopped burning things years ago.
Oh, we
because
should
it was
have. That's why
economically
we are
not
where we
to.
are.
But we have got corruption going on that is absolutely out of control. And it's not just
It's been that way
energy.
for a long time.
It's been that way for a long time. It's the fossil fuels industry, it's the nuclear industry, and so forth.
Absolutely.
And, I used to hear about big wind
Yeah.
as, the wind turbine
bad guy.
industry. Bad guys. And I thought, what is big wind? And I did some research on it. The biggest wind turbine manufacturer in the world at the time, this was 2016, still true as far as I know, was Vestas, which is a Danish company. It's about 60% larger than another Danish company whose name is much more widely recognized. That company is called Lego, which tells me that big wind is bigger than
big
toys. So I looked and I thought, what is the whole industry? And at that time, 2016, the gross sales of wind turbines worldwide, every make, every model, was a little less than $100 billion. Now that sounds like a lot.
But Lego is more
No, we're talking about all of them put together.
put together. Okay.
And
all of the Legos in the world.
yeah. And so I looked at the largest companies in the world, and what I found was there were 63 companies listed that were all bigger than $100 billion in gross receipts, which means 63 companies were all bigger than all of the wind turbine manufacturers put together. Of these 63 companies, 21 were in the oil and gas sector.
Isn't that interesting?
One of them was Koch Industries. None of them was primarily a wind turbine manufacturer. But it's big wind.
There's no question about it.
No question about it. Okay, we are at the
I
end
think
of
we're
the
at
show.
the end here, so
We
let's,
have the admonition to have an excitingly dignified week.
well, you all come back now and hear us, see us, or something like that.